Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to my tour of the books in my little book room for 2025. A useless visual tour since the books are changing as I use them, but you seem to be enjoying it. And this was a difficult filming angle to come up with. I'm usually not involved in YouTuber things like filming angles. But the bookcase that I want to film here is on a wall behind my little pre-World War I bed. I don't have a bed stand or anything like that. I have the bed on box springs. And I've often tempted to ditch the box springs. So it's very low to the floor. And I figured, okay, that means that if you put floor-to-ceiling bookcases along the wall and then you put the bed along those bookcases, you will be losing 3 shelves. The 3 shelves that are on the bottom of each one of those bookcases. But you'll be gaining all those other shelves that otherwise wouldn't be there if you thought that wall was out of bounds. So I, of course, did it. And I used those shelves that are blocked by the bed for storage. Not for books, but for clothes. Works really well, but I never anticipated needing to film this. So we're going to try this shelf this way. It's going to require a lot of ducking and weaving, and maybe a little bit out of camera range, but we'll give it a try. Because this is the last shelf of this bookcase that we're going to need to deal with. All the rest of the space on this bookcase is lots and lots and lots of books about President John F. Kennedy, and I don't think we need to do a video on that. So let's see what we can do here. We'll do the first one. This is Benjamin Jowett. This is his enormous edition, his great edition of the Politics of Aristotle. This is in 2 volumes. Volume 1 is his long introduction, which is worth the price of admission all by itself, and also the translation. And then Volume 2 is notes and appendices and whatnot. And I found this at the Brattle Bookshop, but I didn't see Volume 2. I looked everywhere when I was there. Volume 2 is probably in a box in the basement of the Brattle, probably waiting to come up. But one of the rules of the Brattle Bookshop in the sale lot is if you see Part 1 or Part 2 of something, get it. Don't think, well, I'm not going to get it because I don't see the whole set. Because if it's rare, if you don't usually see it, and I never see this used, much less for $3, it's better to have part of it than none of it. And this is actually the part that I want. The introduction and the translation are actually the part that I want. I wouldn't turn up the notes if they show up, but I was happy to get this one. Although, I should point out, and those of you who have been watching will know, it doesn't belong here. There's actually a bookcase. Is it within view? No, it's not within view. There's a bookcase behind me for classics of ancient Greece and Rome. And all of these things, there was an Odyssey last time, and before that there was the Golden Ass. There's something on every shelf here. And probably they were on that bookshelf originally, and then I moved them to look at them or to find something in them and then put them back somewhere else. And then we also have a modern library. This is the mod translation of Haji Murad by Tolstoy. Thin little thing with a modern resistance fighter there. This is the introduction is by Azar Nafisi, and the translation is I love the mod translations. It's a weird book, interesting even in Tolstoy's weird oeuvre. And we're going to continue with crosswise books here before we get to the books on the shelf. So, okay, all right. So we have, this is the Burton Raffle translation of Stendhal's The Red and the Black with, for some reason, this cover. That's the only reason I have this. I can't imagine that I would ever reread. I love this book. Absolutely love it. But I can't imagine that I would ever reread it in a translation. Which feels really bad. That feels like some sort of defeat, and I probably shouldn't say that. I should probably hold off on saying that and revise whatever's wrong with me with translations these days. I certainly wouldn't read Burton Raffles' translation, but I had to have it for this cover. I have no idea what this cover means. Let's see here. Okay, we've got another work in translation. This is also Everyman. This is the side and sticker translation of The Tale of Genji, in this lovely hardcover that somebody put a plastic covering on it. So on this one bookcase, I have 2 copies, 2 different editions of the side and sticker translation of Tale of Genji, which is a little bit strange. That is, I think, if I were being severe about this room, I would say that certainly should not be true. space is technically at a premium in this book room, but apparently not. That's not the way I'm treating it. Then we have Where Bigfoot Walks by Robert Pyle. One of the I've always said there's a ton of books on Bigfoot and Sasquatch and such things, but there's only a tiny handful of them that are actually worth reading. Dr. Jeff Meldrum's book is worth reading. In the Valleys of the Noble Beyond is worth reading. This is worth reading, very much so, even if you're a skeptic. So you'd think that since I think that is true, I would have all these worth reading books together, but no, they're scattered all over this room. Okay, then we have Morris Carter's book. This is Isabella Stewart Gardner and Fenway Court. And that refers to the wealthy socialite Isabella Stewart Gardner from the early part of the 20th century, the 19th century in Boston. And Fenway Court was her home. It was her Italian 8-style palazzo over on the Fenway that is still there. It is the Gardner Museum now. And this is a book about that. It's about her and Fenway Court. It's about her and Bernard Berenson filling that building with artwork. It had, this is the spine. It had a very bland cover. It had a white cover. So I put a covering on it, just an ornate covering on it. It's a really good work of Boston history, all of which should be together in this room. And they are not. Anyway, broken record. Okay, then we have, this is another example. Some of you have been pointing this out while we've been doing this library tour. This is another example of a modern book that makes it into this room, just without question. Did we have another example of those fairly recently? Did we? Well, the Katz translation of Brothers Karamazov, but I'm thinking of something else. Something else. No? Nothing's really jumping out at me, but it does happen. It does happen that I will get a book and know almost immediately, certainly once I've read it, I will know that it's going to come into this room. And that is true for this. Richard King's book, Sailing Alone, is something that I knew right away was going to end up in this room. It's fantastic. It's a personal meditation, but it's also a book about the phenomenon of getting into a small wind-driven vessel. That cover shows something that is intimately familiar to me, and taking to sea. An incredibly perilous thing to do. And made even more perilous if you did it in ye olden barbarian days when you had no GPS, no emergency finder, no nothing like that, where you couldn't know except by watching the weather whether or not a gigantic storm was headed your way, and you didn't have any kind of navigation of shoals or hidden reefs or anything because you had paper maps, and again your ability to read the water. I loved King's book, just loved it, so I knew that it was coming in here. Okay, then we have something for the gays. You gotta have something for the gays. The gays are liberally represented on this shelf, but sotto voce, so we'll hear it's explicit. This is E.M. Forster's novel, Morris, and this was him deciding that he wanted to write a gay love story at a time when he absolutely could not do that, when he could have been jailed, and for hard labor, if he'd done that. So he just suppressed it himself, and it had to come out later in his life, had to come out after he was dead. And it's quite good. It has weird necrotic elements. It has what I would consider to be an element of the self-hatred that was so prominent a feature of the gay world before even nominal attempts at legalization of any kind of legal recognition that gay people exist. That before that happened, there was a lot of self-loathing in the community, as you'd expect. It's not an easy thing. Be a 13-year-old, an 18-year-old, and realize that not only does the whole world hate this thing, but that you are this thing, and you have to hide it. Your identity, a big part of who you are, how you feel, and who you're attracted to, you have to hide, systematically lie about. That will warp a personality. That will bend and fold it in a lot of ways, sometimes. And I think there's an element of that in Morris. Not everybody thinks that. Then we have Walter Kerr. This is his book, A Journey to the Center of the Theater. His collection of theater reviews. He was wonderful at theater reviews. This is a great, great cover with caricatures of so many people, all of whom I can name. I do not need the guide on the inside. I can recognize all of these. Some of them are easier to recognize than others. But his oh so urbane voice in doing theater reviews is just so wonderful. Okay, then I think this is a double. I think we've come across this already. This is The Journals of John Cheever. with the big C there, only this is a white cover instead of the iconic red cover for his short stories. I feel certain that we've seen this. I think it is behind me, probably in view in the camera. So again, not the best use of space in a little room, one wall of which is almost entirely taken up with a window and a giant silk screen of Homer's Iliad. so I mean, I don't want to go looking for it now, but I feel certain there's another copy of this. The Cheever's journals are great. They're just scathingly honest. Just an utterly unsparing eye that he turns towards all the people that he knows, but also himself. They're amazing reading. Just amazing. Okay, then we have Michael Harrison. This is we saw this on the last shelf as well. Not a duplicate, but the same type of thing. Baring Gould did Sherlock Holmes of Baker Street. This is I, Sherlock Holmes. And this is the same thing. It's the kind of games that Sherlock Holmes fans love to do. This is a fictional reconstruction of Holmes's life, with copious footnotes and a million different exercises in connecting him to the real world around him. Hence the names of all those real people on the cover. These things are endlessly fascinating for me. They don't detract at all from the stories. The number one complaint that I've had from Sherlock fans about things like Sherlock Holmes of Baker Street or I, Sherlock Holmes, is that they are efforts against the magic of the stories. I don't think that's true. In both of the cases of these two authors, they are fully aware of the magic of the stories and fell under it pretty early on in their lives. I don't see it myself. I just think it's fun intellectual exercise. Okay, then we have an anthology. This is the Armchair Esquire. Back when Esquire published lots and lots of great stuff. Now Esquire still is in business. They still print, but they do usually only one serious piece in an issue that is otherwise given over to orgies of overconsumption. Just orgies of buy this, buy that. We know who our core audience is. They are 20-something young men who live in unfurnished apartments. They make $375,000 a year, but they work 100 hours a week. 100 hours a week. So they literally have not a single moment to enjoy any of that money. Their apartments are unfurnished. They're empty. And their minds are largely unfurnished too. The main thing in their mind is that they want to, first, for years, they wanted to be Patrick Bateman, the murderous psycho who is the main character in American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis. Now they all want to be Andrew Tate. And they will continue to want to be him even if he manages to get electrocuted, to be put to death, as he richly deserves. They'll still want to be him. So there isn't as much of an audience for Hemingway or Dorothy Parker or anything like that for Esquire now as there was once upon a time. Now, this is a magazine that always has been aimed at hungry young men in the professional world, in the Wall Street world, and successful older men. And the successful older men and the successful young men are different in one way. The successful older men are all fascists, so they don't want to read literature, they don't want to read fiction, they don't want to read any kind of nonfiction that in any way even slightly scratches their worldview. And the successful young men are feral. They're not human at all. They look human, but they're not human at all. They're monsters. So now there is no such readership for Esquire. So it's amazing to me that they even do one piece. And there are plenty of issues in the current run of Esquire where they don't do anything like the stuff that's in this book. But the stuff that's in this book is still wonderful and ought to be collected. So they did the Armchair Esquire, and they also did the Bedside Esquire. And I think also later than these two, there was a Bathroom Esquire. I'm not 100% sure of that. I grab anthologies anyway. If they look like they're full of good stuff, I grab them anyway. I'm a big fan of anthologies. But if it's Esquire or these older magazines, then it's doubly quick. Then it's an auto buy, as it were. I hear a siren. There's no reason for it at all. There's no traffic for you to divert. You're bored. Maybe there's only one jelly donut left. All right, let's make sure they're well out of hearing. Okay, let's move on. Okay, this next one is also another example of a fairly modern book that immediately made it into this room. This is John Campbell's book, Cross-Examined, where he takes a look at all the arguments for Christianity, all of them. So all the classic 5 arguments for talking these gods into existence, plus all of the justifications that have happened since then, all of the word games that have happened since then, the Kalam cosmological argument put forward by William Lane Craig, and a bunch of others, and demolishes them one after another. And it's not a fire-breathing book. It's not a foam at the mouth hatred. It's what the title means to imply, which is more of a legalistic weighing in the balance. And every single argument is found wanting. Of course, every single argument is found wanting. Of course that's true. If your argument is that there is an all-powerful, all-seeing, all-knowing, personally involved set of gods in the universe, and please, don't tell me that Christians are monotheists, okay? Christians are polytheists, same as everybody else. Obviously, they are. I mean, what is the Trinity but 3 gods? And what are the saints? And what are the angels? It's always gods. It's never just God. It's always gods. And if you're going to say, well, maybe not Christianity, but what about Islam? Is the prophet Muhammad, who was not a prophet, he was a child abuser, is he dead? You're going to find a Muslim anywhere in the world who says that Muhammad is just dead? No, they're not going to say that. They're going to say he's alive, and that he's thinking, and that he's doing things somewhere. Well, that makes him a god. Humans can't do that. Muhammad lived centuries ago, so they're all polytheisms. But anyway, it doesn't matter. If you're putting forward an idea about your gods that is like that, then you shouldn't need an argument at all. You shouldn't need an argument. You should be able to demonstrate it. No one needs 10 really elaborate Kalam-style arguments about the nature, size, distance, and composition of Earth's sun. No one needs that. No one needs to make those arguments. There's nothing there that you need to walk someone through step by step. You just have to demonstrate what the sun is, that it's a star, and what it does. And it's easy to demonstrate it in ways that machines can tell you. So it's not based on faith at all. And that is the proposition here. I mean, Campbell takes it for a fairly long book, and it's a wonderfully done thing. But the main proposition here is self-defeating. You don't need anyone to cross-examine these arguments. Your proposition is that your gods are personally, attentively present in creation. That should be a trivially easy thing for you to demonstrate. No one's ever been able to demonstrate that. No one's ever been able to come close. But obviously, in other words, obviously I have my own opinions on the subject, but the book is wonderful. It won't do if you are, if you're trying to hand it to a fundamentalist believer, a brainless believer, then it won't work for them. But I have recommended this book to a lot of believing Christians, who tell me with a smile on their face, here over wine and calzones, I know you don't believe, I know you think this is nonsense, but that's only when I'm making a fact claim, when I'm saying this thing is in the room with us right now. When I'm not doing that, you've always been completely respectful of my faith. So if this book is the same way, I'll gladly read it. And to my best of my knowledge, it hasn't changed anyone's mind, but it still is really enjoyable to read. Most believers that I know who are sincere, and in the 21st century, I have to admit that number is very small. Religion has been totally co-opted for social posturing. Christ is king. A whole bunch of drug-taking weightlifters who never stop talking about how faithful a Christian they are. They are not at all Christian. You're not a Christian if you think that you're the CEO of a company in which Jesus Christ, your risen Savior, is a promising regional manager. And he reports to you, but you're respectful of him, because I think he's got a lot of promise. You're not a Christian if you think that. And I don't know of any YouTube Christians, for instance, who don't think that way. So, and certainly no megachurch pastors. All the megachurch pastors think that Jesus is an up-and-coming regional manager. He has to report to them, and every once in a while they have to snap his leash a little, but they think he's got a lot of promise. You're not a Christian if you think that. Plain and simple. Now, that's not gatekeeping on my part. But anyway, even though I don't think it will convince a lot of people, a lot of the Christians that I've recommended it to have loved how much it made them think. The type of arguments that it goes at in Campbell's book will not touch genuine faith. It's, one friend actually said it's someone shouting in another room. I can put a cup against the wall. I can find that interesting, but it doesn't affect me at all. It doesn't touch my faith whatsoever. I agree completely. Nothing that Campbell says in that book will touch sincere faith. But it's still, that makes it all the more interesting. But anyway, let's move on. This is the Ross Benjamin translation of Kafka's Diaries in the Schocken translation. This is the trade paperback of the Schocken translation of Kafka's Diaries. Has an origin story behind it. I've told it before on this channel, but I have to remember a lot of people are watching these videos who have not watched 9,000 videos. So, a little repetition is probably called for. This was a hilarious BookTube story. A number of people who've been watching this channel for a long time affectionately gave me mountains of crap when the story was developing in real time, and I loved it. I shook my fist and I growled, but I loved it. I was smiling and laughing the whole time. Because Schocken sent me the hardcover of these diaries. And I didn't review it. I read it, and I wasn't all that big a fan of the translation. I didn't really prefer it to the previous translation of Kafka's Diaries. So I largely let it go by the wayside, and I got rid of the book. And then somebody was talking about it. I think it may have been a model bro on Instagram who pretends that he likes to read. And maybe even does. Maybe even is starting to like to read just a bit. This was years ago. I like to encourage that, even when the model bro in question is lying about everything else. They all lie about smoking, for instance. They all smoke all the time. They don't show it to you, and they lie about it. Because so many of them moonlight as fitness bros. They are not fitness bros. You're not a fitness bro if you're pinning drugs in order to increase your muscle size. You're not a fitness bro if you're chain smoking whenever you're not on camera. That's not fitness. That's the opposite of fitness. But anyway, I think I saw it on one of those channels, maybe an Instagram feed like that, and it suddenly brought it back into my mind. Oh, I should have that. It's a major work, and I should try it again. And I made a big drama on this channel about how, I don't have it. It's way too late for me to ethically ask a publicist. The publicist would probably send it to me, but it's way too late for me to do that. I can't make any pretense that I'm going to review it. So I'm right in the trenches with the rest of you. Where do you go to get your new books? Let's have this adventure together. Do you go to Amazon? Do you go to the Facebook Marketplace? Do you go to eBay? What do you do when you want a new book? We're going to be in this fight together. And then I went and looked and saw the prices. $25 for a single book, as opposed to $25 being $25 books at the Brattle. And I balked. I caved. I completely caved. Pampered little hothouse flower that I am. I did email the publicist. They were happy to send me the book. And then I, in due course, got the paperback. And I also reread it. I got the paperback. The paperback I don't think is sturdy enough for me to really bear down on, but I went back to the hardcover and reread this translation of the diaries and was much more interested. I'm glad that I revisited it. Very much so. I'm glad that whole melodrama was not for nothing. It's not one of my finer moments. I am a pampered reviewer. I am not accustomed to spending money on new books. Anyway, then we have another anthology. This is 119 Years of the Atlantic. This is wonderful. Oh my God, look at all those names on the cover. That's all they put on the cover is just the names. And it's amazing. Just amazing. I mean, I love treasuries like this anyway. I'm having a harder time with the books now because of the ergonomics. Oh, okay, great. Well, all right, we have another Esquire treasury. This really ought to be with the other two. This is a great big thing. I don't know how... I've never actually done a piece-by-piece analysis to see how much overlap there is between this and the armchair bed Esquire or the bedside Esquire. Probably there's a lot. Probably editors tend to agree on some of the classic pieces that they've run in previous years. So usually subsequent anthologies like this are not radically different. I've never actually done that, but I have spent a lot of time in this anthology and really enjoyed it. Okay, then we have a hardcover of The Sword of Shannara by Terry Brooks. This is with a Hildebrandt cover and also Hildebrandt illustrations throughout. You can tell immediately from the cover. You don't even need to know anything about The Sword of Shannara. You don't need to have read it to know how intensely let's just say, homage this is to Tolkien. You've got a ranger, a dwarf, and an elf on the cover. You've got a glowing MacGuffin that is obviously going to govern their destinies. You've got an evil doorway. Even just the cover alone is enough to tell you. But I reread this. I reread The Sword of Shannara and also the next two, and kind of liked them. I did kind of like them. There are an endless number of Shannara books. I think there might be 100, and I have not ventured out into other Shannara stuff of any kind. But I did reread the first three. I mean, I read them as they were coming out because they were in a far... The Sword of Shannara appeared in a far less populated subgenre of fantasy. Tolkien-style fantasy was far less populated when this book first appeared than it is now, where everybody and his brother has written a trilogy like this, a big sprawling trilogy with maps and magic systems and whatnot. That wasn't true when this first came out, so I grabbed onto it right away and wanted to know, what are you going to do? You, Terry Brooks, what are you going to do that's any different from Tolkien? Or is this just member berries? Are you just taking us down memory lane? And I found a lot in it. Not that first time, but this reread, I found a lot in it. And then we're finally at the last book on the shelf, and that's good because I can't reach any further. This is the UK trade paperback of The Mirror and the Light by Hilary Mantel. I have a number of copies of this book in this room. In the Canadian trade paperback, in the American hardcover, in the UK trade paperback, in the UK hardcover. I should not. There is not endless space in this room. But this is the third and final volume in her trilogy of novels on Thomas Cromwell. This should have won the Booker Prize alone, all by itself, for the year that it came out. It was easily the best novel under consideration, easily. And it's amazing. It really is amazing. It's much longer than the other two, but it is worth it. It is very much worth it. We have done many read-alongs of the Cromwell books on this channel. And enjoyed every one of them. At least I have. And that's the important thing. So there you go. That is this shelf. All that remains is a sea of Kennediana after this. So I need to figure out what I'm going to do next. You want library tours to continue. So I don't know what I'm going to do next. If this filming angle was difficult, the others that I might do in this room are almost impossible. So I don't know how I'm going to do that, but I kind of like the challenge. So there may be a pause of a day between now and the next one while I figure things out, but we'll continue talking about my library and maybe continue talking about this room. We're not done by a long shot with the books in this room. I crammed them in here. I'll see. I'll have to figure it out what I want to do, but I'll wrap this up for now and I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.